Chapter 6. The Angels of Space. And the angel that talked with me came again, and waked me as a man that is wakened out of his sleep. Zechariah 4:1. This paragraph fits almost exactly the experience that I had on August the 24th of 1953. Angels were always considered by me to be some vaporous type of afterlife that just floated about here and there. My entire concept of things changed with the physically manifested appearance of one of these angels to me. From the position of the full moon, I judged it to be around 2 a.m. Here on the desert, it is nearly as bright in full moonlight as it is in daylight. I awakened, not knowing why, but sensing that something had happened that had disturbed me. We sleep outside about 6 months out of the year, so you can see that our bedroom was readily accessible. As I looked up from the bed, I saw a man standing about 6 feet away from the foot of the bed. This was not uncommon, as we operate a public airport and have been awakened many times by our dogs barking at people coming in during the night. However, at this time not a sound was heard from the dogs. This I recalled later, and it was certainly unusual. I asked the man what he wanted, thinking his car might have given him trouble, and he had walked into our remote airfield, as many others have done before. At the same time I sat up in bed. Beyond the man, about 100 yards away, hovered a glittering, glowing spaceship, seemingly about 8 feet off the ground. I knew then that he was not having car trouble. The man said, "My name is Soganda. I would be pleased to show you our craft." My left hand and arm were still under the covers. I pinched my wife in the side to awaken her. Soganda smiled like he knew what I was doing. I pinched her again. She normally awakens very easily. I didn't want her to miss what was taking place. Solonga, I'm probably not saying that right. Soganda smiled again. Still no response from my wife, so I pinched her hard. Soganda nearly laughed out loud. My wife didn't wake up, and somehow I realized Soganda had her under some kind of control. I hopped out of bed, clad only in undershorts. Soganda preceded me for a few yards, and then I caught up with him and walked beside him. Not a word was said as we walked to the ship. In fact, I never said another word to him. From the time I got out of bed until I returned to it, every time I thought of something to say, he was answering me before I could speak the first word of any sentence. This proved to me that their perfect ability to communicate by thought transference. As we approached the craft, I began to get butterflies in my stomach from about 50 feet away. Coming nearer, my hair seemed to want to stand up on end. This feeling disappeared instantly upon entering the ship. The craft was about 36 feet in diameter and about 19 feet high. It looked like the same type that George Adamski photographed in his close-ups. The interior was about 18 feet in diameter and about 10 feet high. The walls were of some opalescent material like our imitation mother of pearl. There was a shelf around the inside below the portholes, about elbow height from the floor, when one was standing. A column extended from the ceiling to the floor in the center of the ship. 3 other men were on the craft when we went in. They were all of the same approximate height of Soganda, who was about 5 feet 7 inches tall. These 3 men smiled but never spoke, and I didn't learn their names. Soganda demonstrated their retractable seats, which formed a lounge when extended out of the walls. He showed me several celestial navigation instruments, and then we went below the main deck through a manhole into the power generating room. Below the deck it was necessary to crouch down on a circular catwalk There the power mechanism was exposed to view, and I understood the principle of operation, which Soganda apparently picked up by telethought. We left the ship after what I judged to be about 20 minutes. Soganda walked back to bed with me, where my wife was peacefully sleeping. When I climbed back in bed, I wondered if the strange feeling I had in my stomach was going to affect me in any way. Before I could put the thought into words, Soganda said, "No, you'll be all right," and instantly disappeared. About a minute later, the ship slipped slowly into the sky and was out of sight in less than a minute. Later, we checked the hovering spot with a magnetic compass. The vortex set up by the field from the ship would swing the needle 10 degrees easterly in walking into the vortex center, and 5 degrees westerly in passing out of the center on the opposite side. People who went there a week later to eat their lunches became nauseated and couldn't eat. I know now that angels are people that come out of space. They not only colonize planets and communicate by thought, but they spend their time helping other people to understand life. Right now they are around us. Right now they are around and on our planet to help humanity out of the mess we have gotten ourselves into. People are people everywhere in the Creator's universe. The only difference is that most of them have followed the universal laws and thereby progressed, while we on Earth have not. You had a body before you came here on Earth, and you'll have another one when you leave. But maybe then you'll be called an angel. Genesis tells of God making man, but it doesn't say anything about him making angels. This further proved to me that angels are the race of man. The first mention of an angel in the Bible comes in Genesis 16:7. In this verse, the angel is referred to as an angel of the Lord. The sages of biblical times knew the mysteries and actions of the esoteric laws. Thus it was known to them that everything that was motivated by natural forces traveled in an arc or curved path. Anything that moved in any other path of motion was unnatural and was symbolically termed an angle. People living in Abram's time therefore referred to anything that was of an unnatural motion from their point of view on the Earth's surface as an angle. These people didn't know anything about weather balloons, modern airplanes, and high-flying jets. The only things they knew of that flew in the sky were winged birds. When they observed a spacecraft or men came out of the sky, they naturally pictured them with wings like the birds. Since the appearance of men or ships in the sky was not a naturally happening occurrence, they symbolized the sky visitors as angles. The way these people recorded any happening was to have one of their scribes write it down. Like a newspaper reporter of today who wasn't present at the actual scene, the scribe had to write it as it was described to him by eyewitnesses. Whenever the people want a copy of any written record, they found a scribe to copy it for them. The scribes of those days got things twisted as badly as the reporters and newspapers of today do. Due to error in interpreting the symbol, the scribes in copying the accounts of the angles coming out of the skies wrote angel instead of angle. All copies made from an erroneous one usually repeated the same mistake, so angles became angels. In a number of experiences describing contacts with the people in the spacecraft, the Earth people making the contact stated that the space people disappeared before their eyes. As this has also occurred to me during my contact, I can understand their amazement. The uninformed would say they dematerialized. The technically minded people would say they went into the fourth dimension. The psychiatrists would say that the people suffered from hallucinations. None of these are true. The reason our space friends can disappear is because is because our physical vision depends on light reflection off of things in order to see. The wavelength of visible light extends from approximately 4,000 angstroms, extremely violet, to 7,700 angstroms, extremely red. Compared with the known radiation spectrum as a whole, the range of physical vision is extremely limited. This is comparable to looking at the landscape through a crack between two boards and saying the landscape outside the range of visibility doesn't exist, has dematerialized, or is a hallucination. Our space friends know light inside out and backwards. In order to eliminate the need for weapons which would injure others, they have developed what they call the perfect defense. This is a small object about 2 by 2 inches square and about 1/2 inch thick. It has rounded corners and is generally carried on a cord around the neck and suspended under the blouse. Their ability to read thoughts allows them to be aware of any danger or threat, and all they have to do is tap this device with either hand and then appear to disappear. The object is actually a crystal battery that stores piezo, and I'm probably saying that wrong, piezo or electricity that is generated by cutting magnetic lines of force, or the same as static electricity. The nearest thing to this electricity stored by the crystal battery that we know of, we refer to as the spirit body or aura. The electrical spirit body of people varies with their environment and the chemical makeup of their physical body. This is why you feel good when you are with some people and feel drained or exhausted after association with others. Some people have stronger spirit bodies than others. When the scout ship landed here in August of 1953, I observed this object. Soganda was turning it by the corners between his hands. Suddenly he opened two opposite ends of it and pointed it at the granite rocks of the mountains. I saw a pencil lead-sized stream of light between the object and the mountain. I thought he was shooting something near the mountain. Later he explained that he was charging the device. He said they charge various other pieces of their equipment over granite mountains. This is due to the piezoelectric effect set up by quartz in its granite matrix. When they discharge the crystal battery by pressing on either side of it, it releases the charge into their electric body or aura and causes light to bend around them, therefore appearing to disappear to the limited physical vision of anyone who is watching them. They do not dematerialize or go into any other dimension. They are just as solid and physical as always, but they are outside of the limits of physical vision. The same device was used by the man Jesus when he disappeared out of crowds of people, and again when he reappeared unto the people after 3 days. In St. Luke 24:13-21, it tells how two of the people walked down the road talking with him. Verse 31 says, "And their eyes were opened, and they knew him, and he vanished out of their sight." Some teachings would have you believe that this was a vision the people had. Jesus discounted this himself in St. Luke 23:36-39, when he said, "Handle me and see, for a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as you see me have." 2 women shall be grinding together. The one shall be taken and the other left. 2 men shall be in the field. The one shall be taken and the other one left. St. Luke 17:35-36. Either you have faith in the prophecy of the Bible or you must reject the whole book. The Bible is an accurate history of events that repeat themselves in cyclic repetition. The above paragraphs say a division of humankind will be made. One shall be taken and one shall be left. Who is to make the decision? Who will do the judging of humanity to see who will be taken and who will be left?